Welcome back to the Sela Entrepreneurial Podcast. So glad to have you here again with me. And this is episode 52. So I am at a year in the podcast, which is really quite exciting. And I thought it'd be fitting today to talk about getting okay or accepting or coming to grips with your entrepreneurial journey or your business clarity journey, because it is a journey. It is a time of learning and growing, and a lot of times we don't take the time to look back at the timeline of our entrepreneurial journey and celebrate it and learn from it and grow from it. We just kind of move on from one thing to the next. So today, let's talk about getting okay or accepting your business timeline on your business clarity journey. This is inspired by a coach. You can find her on Instagram at the Taylor Lee. And she said one time that just, and it stuck with me once I heard her say this, is get okay with your business timeline. And then it brought me back to another memory. The coach, the author, the builder of the story brand framework is story brand marketing. Way back in the day, one of his first conferences I went to was the storyline conference. It was more about creating a story timelines and creating better stories for your life and learning how to change it, what you like about it, what you don't, and making some changes. And one of the exercises he had us do in that conference was to map out our timeline from childhood from where we are today and map out the important points that happened along the way. And I did this exercise for myself back then, but I also did it again recently when I was looking at adding story into my marketing. And I realized what I needed to do is go back and look at my entrepreneurial journey and look back at all the things that I have done in the past 16 plus years. I hadn't done that in a long time. And this is an exercise that I'm going to challenge you to do as well. And it's a challenge that's going to take you several days. It's not something you can just do in a couple hours, I don't think. I started it, I mapped it out, and then every few days I would remember something else and I need to go update my timeline. And it was such a fascinating exercise because there's so much that I had forgotten that I did. There were major events, major learning periods, major seasons of life that impacted my business and major seasons in my business that impacted my life that I really hadn't fully accepted or acknowledged what an impact they had on one another. That's why this is a challenge that I would have for you is to go back and map out your business timeline. Depending on how long you've been in business, maybe you're going to do it by quarters, maybe you're going to do it by years, maybe you can do it by 4 or 5 years. For me, I did do it year by year. Some years were more eventful, some years were rather flat, and that's okay. That's what the point of this exercise is to get okay with what got you to where you are today. And I really think we need to do this because we need to acknowledge that we are growing and we forget that when we just move on from one thing to the next. So looking back gives you the opportunity to remember things that you probably haven't thought about in a long, long time. Things that deserve acknowledgement, things that deserve celebration, things that sometimes deserve, you know what, that wasn't such the best idea, but what did I learn from it? And keep going on. Sometimes we forget to look back because we regret the steps we took. And that's okay too. Every time you take a step you don't like, you learn from it, pivot, and you go in a new direction. But I think we need to look back and remember. Remember all the lessons that we learned. Remember the big projects that we took on that stretched us beyond our imagination. Look at the projects that or even the clients that we said yes to that we realized later we should have said no to. Some of my biggest entrepreneurial lessons came from saying yes to clients I should have said no to, from taking on a project that maybe didn't go anywhere, or taking on a project that you saw to completion. You were really proud of it. Did you celebrate it? So that's the other thing I think we need to do is go back to our business timeline and celebrate the wins, celebrate the achievements, celebrate the things we got done, celebrate the things we've learned, the courses we've taken and completed, which for a lot of us, that's a major accomplishment. And then acknowledge the fact that all those steps got you to where you are today. And that's good because your entrepreneurial journey is your journey. It's not anyone else's. It's not what your coach says it should be. It's not what your family says it should be. It's not even what your colleagues say it should be. It is your journey. Are you going slow? Maybe. Are you going really fast and really struggling to keep up? Okay. Well, take a look at your timeline. Are you to the point where you need to make changes? Are there things that you need to get clearer about so that you have a more manageable pace? Are there things that you need to get clearer about so that you have a pace that you're excited about? Going through your journey as an entrepreneur is an important one because I've said it before. Entrepreneurship is one of the most intense personal and business development programs you can ever go through. And if you don't take the time to acknowledge your journey and to accept your journey and accept where you are in that journey, it can be very frustrating. It can get very discouraging and you feel like you haven't done a lot. But when you go back and do your timeline and you map out all the things that you happened, you can celebrate, you can acknowledge the wins, acknowledge the things that went really well, and accept and acknowledge the things that didn't. But again, what did you learn along the way? Entrepreneurship, as we all know, has its hills and its valleys and its hills and its valleys and its twists and its turns. And it's important to acknowledge the fact that we're still on this journey, even after all those hills and valleys, after all those twists and turns, after all those tripping over our own feet and realizing that there's a lesson to learn on our way down. So, what have you done in your business? What have you done in your entrepreneurial timeline that maybe you've forgotten? What are the things that you have done and you've acknowledged, but then you just moved on? You didn't acknowledge it and celebrate it. You didn't acknowledge it and finish it. You didn't acknowledge it and gasp. You didn't market it. I have a few of those on my list. There are things that I'm so excited I created. I love creating. My problem comes in when it's time to market the thing. I'm ready to move on to the next thing rather than start talking about it. But I think when we look at our entrepreneurial journey, we look at all the things that we have done and we look at the projects that we've started, the ideas that we had that didn't go anywhere. We need to really examine those. What kept us from doing it? What got us to the finish line? This is also coming from I found an old journal. I was trying to be a good girl. Instead of going out and buying a brand new journal for a project, I have a whole stack on this bookshelf over here that are ready to be used. I don't need to go buy another one. And I pulled out one that I realized was half finished. It has been half used. So I was actually going through it and looking through all the notes that I made, and most of them were back from 2020 and 2021. That was a very significant time period for me in my business life. Yes, it was really a time of change for everyone, but for me, it was a pivotal moment in my business where things started to change, where I realized at the end of 2019, right around there, I realized something was on the cusp of changing. Something was getting ready to change. I just didn't know what it was. 2020 was a lot of question asking, a deep question asking, and it was really the catalyst for Sela Studios and where I am today. But I look through all those notes and I look through all the ideas I had at the time. Some are ideas that I just got finished working on this year. Some of the ideas are things that I wanted to do and started later that year. It led to my rebranding into Sela Studios. It was one of the first steps I realized I started recognizing the fact that I'm a coach. I'm a coach who happens to also do web design. I'm no longer a web designer who loves to coach. It was interesting to go through it and look through all the questions and look through all the ideas. And back then I was still working with my two brands, my blog and my publishing brand plus my web design brand. And I could start to see the threads coming through as these two brands could converge and I could see the commonalities and where they overlaid. And it was an interesting exercise to go back and find all those notes, notes from classes, notes from memberships, notes from working with coaches, just notes and brainstorms I had on my own. And I could actually see my journey from still being confused and all of a sudden through 2020 and 2021, all of a sudden things starting to coalesce into an actual idea. It was fascinating. And it just reminded me again that there are so many things I did and so many things I accomplished that I've completely forgotten about several years later. And so, again, we need to acknowledge and accept our business timeline because it is your journey. It's not my journey, it's your journey. And it's important that you do not forget the steps that brought you to where you are today. You're going to find out things you're proud of. You're going to find out things I'd like to forget that one. And you're going to discover things. Oh, I forgot about that. That was a big deal. You're probably going to find more clues to your clarity journey. You're going to find things that you forgot that oh, yeah, it's something I wanted to remember, but I didn't go back and revisit. You're going to see things that you accomplished, but you never went back and analyzed and said, why did this work? Why didn't this work? What needs to change so that if I do this again, it's going to do better? And that could be product development. It could be offering a new service. It could be trying a new marketing campaign. It may be starting a podcast. It may be entering year 2 of a podcast and you're getting ready to do a video podcast. That's where I'm at right now. So going back and acknowledging what you did on your journey to get where you are today, it is an important step. And I hope you will actually go and do it. I hope that you pull out a piece of paper, make it simple, draw a line down the middle of that paper and just start writing out the years on that line and then start writing the things you remember from each year, from each quarter. Think about the clients that you worked with. Think about the products and services you offered. Think about the services that took off, the services that really flatlined and didn't go anywhere. Think about some marketing that you did that was really fun and you enjoyed. Think about marketing or a product launch that you planned and you got done, but nothing happened. Learn from it, grow from it, get excited about it because here you are today, still on this journey of entrepreneurship. You've made it this far. You can take it wherever you want now. And make sure that you put it on your calendar to update your timeline on a regular basis. Because again, we forget all the things that we've accomplished, all the things that we've gotten done. So I hope you'll take this. I hope you will go back and write out your own timeline and get comfortable with the timeline that you have and decide on what changes need to be made. Do you need to go a little bit faster? Do you need to slow down? Learn from your entrepreneurial journey. Update your business clarity map and understand where you are today as an entrepreneur. Because you're going to look back at the very beginning of your timeline and you're going to realize how much you have grown, how much you have changed. Celebrate it. Get excited about it because you have made it this far. To celebrate this and to celebrate the 1 year of the podcast, one of the things I'm going to be doing is offering some Get Unstuck sessions. And this is one of the questions that we'll probably go over in your session. In this session, you're going to receive a 60-minute Zoom call with me. There's going to be a work with some pre-questionnaires to help us get a baseline for where you're at and get on the same page of where you're at in terms of your business clarity journey. And then we're going to have a great conversation of figuring out where you are right now, what you would like to figure out in your clarity journey, and where you're feeling stuck. And you're going to walk away with some action steps, things that you can do right now to take action to discover more clarity and to uncover where you're supposed to be in your business. I would love to talk to you about that. I'd love to sit down and talk with you. I've already done a couple over the last few weeks and I loved it. It was so much fun to meet these women who are feeling really stuck and have them reach the end of the conversation excited with the next steps that they can take to get unstuck and find that clarity. So if you are looking for just a quick session, you're not ready for a full program, but you just have a few quick questions you would love to get answers on, I would love to invite you into the Get Unstuck sessions with me. You can find out more at selastudios.co/get unstuck. And I will put a link to that in the show notes here. And I look forward to seeing you in year 2 or continue with you in year 2 of the Sela Entrepreneur podcast. Until next time.